Hey guys, well, it's winter, sun's out, but boy, it's cold. But that hasn't stopped any of us from talking about fishing and thinking about what we're going to do this year. And I've gotten a few questions from people about, hey, I want to start fishing, but I'm just not sure what I can start with. There's so many baits to choose from, there's so many techniques, and I just don't know where a good place to start is. And so that's what I was going to talk about today is one of the simple techniques that you can get into if you want to start fishing, and it's very effective. It doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or professional. It's using a Senko and Wacky rigging it. So here's the deal. It's not complicated. Don't make it complicated. There's all kinds of ways you can start out. The simplest is by using a little hook like this. This is actually a stinger by Gamakatsu. You can use it for what's called Nico style or Wacky rig. Something very simple like this. And this can give you a lot of options out on the water. So let me show you how we do this with a Senko. So there's two ways I'll use a Wacky rig. This is with a Senko or with a Zinker. Essentially, they're 5-inch plastic worms. Senkos and Zinkers both come in a variety of different colors, but there are some very key differences to these two kind of baits. I'm going to start with the Senko for now. The Yamo Senko, so this one you can see it's a rubber worm, not complicated, and there's a variety of ways you can rig it. You can see that there's just a little bit of a slight turn in this worm right here. So try and keep it like this. So with the Senko, it requires a little bit of a extra tooling, I guess you would say. You can just use these, but what happens is the fish hit them, they bite through them. You're going to go through a lot of these baits. And if you have a ton of them, no biggie, but you can make your baits last longer by using what's called a Wacky rig tool. This one's by VMC. It's very simple. You can see it's got a sort of a tapered end with a hollow center, and you have these little O-rings that you put on it. And how you can do it, so find the center of your little worm right there, and you thread it into the Wacky rig tool like that. And then you want to pull this O-ring up over the edge. And what this is going to do is move this O-ring up, and it's going to pop over the worm like that. Okay? So there you go, you got your O-ring on it. And what this does is it helps you keep your baits from getting all torn up. So when you have your hook, I'll show you right here. Okay. So I like to take my hook, and I put it right through that O-ring. And I also do it a little bit through the Senko. Just like that. It's as simple as that, really. You can skip these up under docks, up into vegetation if you want. Just use them like this. There's other hooks you can get. There's a weedless hook. If you're gonna go around a lot of vegetation and trees, I'd suggest a weedless. Let me show you that. There's all kinds of weedless Wacky hooks by VMC, Owner, and Gamakatsu. This right here is the weedless stinger variation. It's made by Gamakatsu. And these little prongs right here on the edges keep it from getting caught up in branches and everything else. So the way this works is the bass eats it, you pull in the bass, and what happens is often this hook will go up into the bass. It sometimes will pull out of the bait. The O-ring keeps you from losing that bait forever. So it's just a way to prolong the use of your baits, prolong your Yamasenkos, and then you can just thread it back in up under that O-ring once you get the bass in the boat. And there you go. You're ready to go. So that's one method that you can use. Really easy. It's going to catch you a lot of fish. The other method is using a Zinker. So Zinkers are made by Z-Man. They're proprietary Elastec. So what that means is they're a little bit more durable bait. I like to use them because I don't have to mess with the O-ring and do all that. Here's a Zinker, as you can see. Essentially same kind of design, except this is really stretchy. Elastec typically will float. So what you need to know is that these are salt impregnated. That means they're gonna sink. These will sink a little slower than the Yamasenkos in my experience. But you have to know that over time that salt will come out of this bait because this bait is so durable. Yamasenko, you may catch a few bass and then you got to put on a new bait. A Zinker, you don't necessarily have to do that because it's so durable. But because it's so durable, that salt eventually over time may come out of the bait. It may float, and you can use that floating bait later for something else that you want to do, like maybe running a shaky head or some sort of floating worm. Got it already. So let me show you real quick. A Zinker, same thing as a Yamasenko, right? You know, find a little sweet spot here. I usually like about that. But you don't need to use the O-ring with it. You just thread this right through. Usually do it right in the middle, like that. And that gives me plenty of action as it's falling through the water. I can shake it a little bit. And as you can see, it's pretty dang durable. I love these things. So that's a great option if you really don't want to mess around with a Wacky tool and the O-rings and all that. Either way, I use both. So the last thing you can do, just to throw a little change in, and this is a little different, you can use this in both the Yamasenko and the Zinker, is a Nico rig it. So essentially what that means is you put a weight in it. So with a Nico, you're basically weighting the bottom of it and you're moving your hook a little farther up. And what you can use are these weights. These are made by Z-Man, and they just fit in the sort of the thick end of the worm. You can use a nail weight also, but I like these. They've got a really good keeper on them, as you can see. And you just put these up in the end of that worm, like so. There you go. You got a little weight in the end of it. And so you can rig this however you like. So I like to have it a couple inches up because this weighted end is going to go to the bottom. So it'll bounce more like this off the bottom. You can move it wherever you like. Some people like to do it down here. Some like to do it up near the top. It's up to you, whatever you like to do. But it gives you some different options. So there you go. Some very simple options. Get you out, get you start fishing. And there's just such a great variety of colors and use for such a simple little bait. And it puts bass right in your boat, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it's helpful to everybody out there that's wanting to get out, start fishing, learning some new techniques. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.